And while hearing the word Tibet and the Tibetan flag, their expressions completely changed. And then they started talking among themselves in Chinese, and they started discussing on their phones in these WeChat groups that they had. Tibet is an independent country with their own people and their own cultural and national
Fond
identity.
of it though. I remember playing it when I was in school. Like we used to have these second Saturday breaks, right? So used to play. I'm more like a FIFA guy than a Counter Strike, but
The
yeah.
Chinese youngsters, they took advantage of the moment to creep up behind us and literally snatch the flag off my back.
Unsilenced Voices of Young Tibetans is a podcast presented by the Foundation for Nonviolent Alternatives, where young Tibetans share their personal stories, experiences, opinions, and journey in exile.
Tashidilek, namaste, and welcome to our FNVA podcast, Unsilenced Voices of Young Tibetans. In today's episode, we will engage on the recent viral incident where a Tibetan in the city of love, that is Paris, displayed our very own Tibetan National Flag on a world event that caught the attention of the CCP and its followers, which eventually led to the disruption of the live stream in the mainland China and was further followed by several unruly acts towards him and his colleague. We have with us the very Tibetan who displayed our flag. He is someone who is interested in video games and is passionate about Tibet, to say the least. Without any further ado, I welcome our guest, Tenzin Tsangpa.
Tashtile.
So, Tsangpa, thank you for joining us firstly. And like before we get into the nitty and gritty of the incident that occurred and is making several news around the world, can you tell us who is Tenzin Tsangpa?
Um, Hello, everyone. I am a Tibetan refugee in exile, currently living in France since 2018. And for now, I am studying finance and business management in a French university since last year.
Yep. So,
And
Tsangpa, I think our paths crossed each other when we were in TCV, though we did not engage that much, but we saw each other, and at times we also played football, basket, and some games together, like at TCV Seliqui in particular. So while growing up in TCV, like were there any major takeaways from your time there?
yes, I do remember you from TCV, even though we were not that close, because I think it's due to the difference in a class, because we were not in the same classes. But yeah, I do remember you. And growing up in TCV, I can say proudly that it has instilled a sense of cultural identity and a sense of community inside me, which I have been carrying with me since leaving TCV. And yeah, I think that that is one of the biggest takeaways that I learned in by growing up in TCV.
Even I definitely felt that, because for me, like growing up in an Indian school and firstly coming to TCV, learning about the our own very community sort of gave me the push and made me realize how important our culture, our heritage, and what it means to be a Tibetan. So these sort of things were what I also took away from TCV, and I could rightly see that even you felt the same thing when you were growing up in TCV. So with time, as you rightly pointed out during your intro, you eventually moved to Paris and you're currently doing your studies there. But settling in Paris, and one thing is very evident, that is the growing number of Tibetan diasporic community there. So you yourself being there, do you find any major differences between Paris and while you were back in India?
Um, well, back in India, we kind of lived in a an isolated village. It was not really a large city like Paris, right? So obviously there's gonna be like socio-economic differences. And other than that, I don't really know what to say, because in the end we are all humans, and whether we live in cities or we live in villages, we all have the same tendencies and characteristics, I feel.
Indeed, Sangpa, definitely. Like at the end of the day, regardless of wherever you are, we are the same human beings. So, like now, I think we can go ahead and talk about the major theme of our session today, which is what happened on the 21st of May 2023 during the Counter Strike Go World Championship, which is also popularly known as the Majors. And it was held in Paris, France, where you are currently settled. and which you also attended. And during this event, you proudly displayed our Tibetan national flag. But the thing that happened afterwards was how you was eventually confronted, harassed, and even assaulted by misinformed Chinese youths. On top of this, because you displayed our national flag on the event itself, like what netizens and a lot of Twitter and social media followers observed was that how the very live streaming of this event was disrupted for several minutes in mainland China. So instead of me speaking about what was happening and what happened, could you tell us what prompted you to firstly display our Tibetan flag and what unfolded there? Like what really happened there?
Well, before I tell my story, I would like to just explain a bit that share with you guys that we all have different interests and passions in life, right? So you have some people who like basketball, some people who like football, or and then you have someone like me who is into technology and video games. So I thought to myself before attending that maybe I can use this opportunity to represent our culture, our people, our identity on the international stage, and since this game is very popular in China, I felt like it would be a really good opportunity to raise awareness about our cause among especially among the Chinese youth, because we can clearly see that most of them are brainwashed since their childhood by the CCP. So yeah, so to start the story, uh, yeah, I was with my brother, right, my younger brother, and we were planning on um, on hoisting the Tibetan flag during the introduction part. That's the part where the host at the event they call upon all the players and they introduce them one by one on this stage in the middle. So I thought to myself, maybe it would be good if I place myself directly behind them, so that so that they could see our flag in the live stream, right, in front of all the cameras. So as I was waiting there, you have to wait like an hour or so before the actual event starts. So while queuing up in that spot and keeping my place, I met two Chinese youth, and I knew they were Chinese because they had a huge Chinese flag in their hands, which they were planning to hoist right next to me, actually. And so like they started by asking me from where I was and my identity, and I jokingly told them to guess because I thought they would know, right, judging by the flag on my back. But they told me that they didn't know and that they were like, sorry, we're poor at geography, like we don't know what country you're from, we don't recognize that flag. So I was like, it's okay, that's the flag of Tibet and I'm Tibetan. And while hearing the word Tibet and the flag, Tibetan flag, their expressions completely changed. And then they started talking among themselves in Chinese, and they started discussing on their phones in these WeChat groups that they had for with other Chinese youngsters, which were present at the event, I guess. So soon before the event started, they left their place that they had been waiting hours for, and my guess is that they probably didn't want to be in the live stream next to a Tibetan flag in case they get in trouble uh, when they go back to China, right? So the story starts here, and during the match there was really no problems because everyone were in their places and cheering and enjoying the match, right? But as you can see in the video on Twitter, where this group of Chinese youngsters, when they approached me, that was during the halftime, which is a break for like 10 to 15 minutes, I think. And so when the halftime started, there was this huge group of Chinese youngsters who approached us, and when I counted them, I counted around 8 Chinese youngsters in a group, and there was only one or two who could like barely speak English. And so yeah, the first guy, the Chinese guy, the guy in the cap in the white shirt, he approached me and he directly started speaking in Chinese to me, but I could not understand a word because I don't speak Chinese. I am not Chinese, right? Which I explained to them, and they were like, no, 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 you are not Tibetan, you are Chinese, you have to speak Chinese. They were literally forcing me to speak Chinese even though I could not. And I told them, no, we can speak in English if you want. And then they started calling our flag trash, and they started saying things like, your people are trash, your flag is trash, um, you should be proud of being Chinese, things like that. And I was like, and you can see some parts in the video where I was like, no, you are Chinese. You have no right to say if I'm Chinese or not. Like, I'm Tibetan. It's my national identity, my own choice, right? Which they refused to understand and cooperate. And in the end, we the discussion became pretty heated, and I told them like, we were not in China, we're in France, a free and democratic country with freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and that you cannot oppress someone just because their opinion and their identity does not align with yours, right? Which I explained to them, but they were unable to explain it. And from one point of view, I can understand, because imagine being in their place, like since your birth, since your whole childhood, you are being fed this propaganda by the Chinese government. Like, I can imagine like it would be really difficult to think out of the box and try to see it from a new perspective. But yeah, so in the end, I decided to go call security. But unfortunately, the arena was really jammed. Like, it was packed to the full since it was the final major, and the security could not really bother to help us because he was too busy, I think. And but thankfully, after the halftime break, the group, the Chinese group, they dispersed and they went back to their places. I think it's because they were scared of getting kicked out by security, which would ruin their moment, right? So in my head, after that, I thought that that was the all. I thought that was all to it. But unfortunately, at the end of the match, when our team they won, everyone just stood up to cheer. Right, everyone rushed towards the stage to run towards the player and cheer for them when they won in the end. In all that hustle and bustle, the Chinese youngsters, they took advantage of the moment to creep up behind us and literally snatch the flag off my back. And yeah, the one Chinese guy, he ripped it off my back, and he quickly passed it to another friend of his, which then took it and ran all the way back in the crowd. And so I was unable to retrieve it, and yeah, and I kept shouting like, "Give me back my flag!" Like, how dare you raise your hand on someone and literally steal private property in front of thousands of people, right? And even there were people behind us who were literally shocked by seeing that. Like, nobody would expect it. Like, also, like, it's not like I did anything illegal or anything like that, because in the arena you have the audience that comes from all over the world. Like, you have players and their supporters. They come from Ukraine, France, Belgium, Norway, everywhere in the world. So like, why would they target me specifically? Instead, like, it's literally a case of oppression of freedom of expression, in my opinion. And yeah, and due to that, the there was a lot of tension between us, and they were literally menacing my brother and I by waiting behind us, in acting like they were going to do something, like when we get out of the arena, right? But thankfully, we had a large friend group that was waiting outside, just in case to defend us from this group of Chinese. So when we got out, we got together with our friends, and yeah, when they saw our friends, they could not even gather the courage to approach us, and they all ran away. So in the end, yeah, I could not retrieve my flag. And later that night, when I got home, I looked up on Twitter in case if there has been any if anyone has reported it, and I soon found out that there was an independent Chinese journalist on Twitter who had posted this incident on their Twitter, and which had gained enormous amounts of traction that night. And through these posts and replies, I found that the Chinese guys who stole our flag, they had posted it on their own social media called Weibo or something. I'm not sure.
Yep.
And
Weibo, Weibo.
yeah, they had posted our flag as the um ju- to deviate from the point. I think I find it pretty cool that like in the moment, in the heated argument of the moment, I did not really have the opportunity to film everything, because my goal was to just be able to get on stream, show our flag, and then go back to my place, right? I never planned on getting in a heated argument or even get physical with someone else. Like, it was not in my plan. So I did not really get the opportunity to film anything. But thankfully, those youngsters, they did all the work for us, for me, because you can see all the videos, all the photo proofs on Twitter, and most of them are posted by them on their own social network, Weibo. And yeah, as I used Google Translate to read each and every one of those replies, I soon found out that I had accomplished my goal of spreading awareness about our cause, especially among the Chinese youth who are oblivious to it due to CCP propaganda and censorship.
Yep, definitely, Tsangpa. And it's very sad to see such things happening at such a, like a popular gaming
Yeah,
platform, like
definitely,
Counter
definitely.
Strike. Counter Strike. Like I
Uh,
remember playing this game. I'm not that fond of it though. I remember playing it when I was in school. Like we used to have these second Saturday breaks, right? So used to play. I'm more like a FIFA guy than a Counter Strike, but yeah, it's still enjoyable. And if you want, you can highlight what Counter Strike is. I think a lot of our audience don't know what it is exactly.
well, it's a very very popular video game franchise, especially in Europe and in China at the moment. And yeah, the game, this culture has been going on since like 1999 and 2000. So it's been around like 23 years since the game has come out. And that shows that how many people support it and watch and enjoy this culture of video gaming, especially in Counter-Strike. And to add to it, Counter-Strike used to be banned in China
Okay.
until like 3 or 4 years ago, due to their censorship. And right now, if the Chinese youth that play Counter Strike, their version is completely different. It's I mean, at the base it's the same game, but the cosmetics and there are a lot of cosmetics and customized items in the game which might clash with CCP propaganda or their views, right? So they censor everything and they release their own version of cosmetics and things like that in the game. So yeah, in China, the Chinese version of Counter Strike and the international version of Counter Strike, it's not exactly the same due to censorship.
So it's not only sad to see them, trying to claim the people enjoying this game, but also, censoring the game itself. And this very incidents, like where you were confronted like this by, in some ways, I can call them like radicalized Chinese by the CCP. Like, I think
Hmm.
some Chinese would not believe that these are their very Chinese people, because not all Chinese are like that. But at the
Yeah,
end of the day,
definitely.
I think this really showcased how, like the People's Republic of China and at what lengths they go to hide their own insecurity, even adhering to this very evident what happened to you, like the transnational aggression, how, like even though this is not happening in China, like it's happening in a sovereign country, France, Paris, for that matter, like things like this are happening. So thereby also, in my opinion, it makes it very clear, like not only to me but to everyone, how the ones ruling the PRC, by the ones ruling I mean the ones in Beijing, Xi Jinping, President Xi Jinping, and all those CCP Politburo members, believe that Tibet is never part of their so-called motherland, and in some ways they eventually, or they themselves are persisting that they illegally occupied it. So Tsanga, what are your thoughts on this, and what are your opinions on our very, on our very Tibetan sisters and brothers inside occupied Tibet, who have to undergo and face what you came across in their everyday life?
Yeah, as I mentioned in one of my posts on Instagram, um, like even in a free and democratic country like France, we face such oppression against by these main Chinese brainwashed Chinese youth. I cannot even imagine how our people back in Tibet they could be facing. the oppression and the suppression of their freedom of expression. Like they literally have no voice to spread their opinion and their rights.
And on top of this, like even I, through my own friend Tenzin Tsangpa, like who you're also friends with, like he was the one who broke this news out to me, and eventually I shared it on social media, and a lot of people had shared it. So, what were your feelings when you saw our own very Tibetan sisters and brothers, in the free world, expressing solidarity and showing support to you? And I think not only Tibetans, a lot of non-Tibetans also showed their, support towards you. So, what sort of feeling did you get during that time?
Yeah, I can say that it has been a very wholesome week for me since Monday morning. My Instagram has been blowing up with messages of support and kind words, and yeah, like I never expected this much support and solidarity among our people. Like it was really heartwarming and wholesome to see that, and I thank everyone for their support and kind words. It means a lot to me.
So, Ten Sambal, you rightly pointed out how, like in the social media world, this became quite viral. And one thing that is very evident is how China and the People's Republic of China, for that matter, is using the social media world to push their agenda. And they have this famed 50 Cent army. So, did you come across them while, going through the incidents through social media?
Well, the most of the replies on the Twitter thread that went viral, they were in our support, which I can understand because I think Twitter is banned in China, so it should be mostly Chinese people that have escaped China to foreign countries, right? Or people that use VPN to use Twitter. But judging by the post on Weibo and the comments and the replies that the guy received, I think that the people are still oblivious to the fact that Tibet is an independent country with their own people and their own cultural and national identity, and I think it's important for us to let them know the details about our identity and our history, and instead of the propaganda that has been fed by the Chinese government and the false narratives that they have been pushing to justify their occupation of Tibet.
Yep. And when we call their occupation, they sort of tend to personify and raise how they have liberalized Tibet from the
Mm,
so-called serfdom, which is not a fact.
yes, exactly. Which is it is very ironic because just like how they posted all the videos and the photos of burning and stealing our flag and acting as if it's an act of martyrdom, and I think it shows the irony and the, the how it seems like so funny because in their thought in their head they think that they're trying to justify their actions, but in reality it's the complete opposite. So I think yeah, I think it's very important to for us Tibetans especially to help them understand our plight, because to solve the problem, we there's always two sides to a story, right? Like we
Yep.
have to understand their side, and we have to be better about explaining our side of the story to come to a conclusion. So I think it's very important to identify the problem before trying to solve it.
Definitely, Sangbo. You are a person who deserves that. And in my opinion, through this, not only through this, like through your very own genuine action of taking such an initiative, you are a hero to us Tibetans and showed us Tibetans how we can advocate and share the truth to the world, that too on the world stage. So, on that note, what sort of message do you have to our Tibetans, brothers and sisters, and even our Tibet supporters around the world?
Um, yeah, in to me personally, I don't see it as a huge act, because I felt it was just my duty as a Tibetan refugee in exile to represent our people and to spread awareness about our cause. And I think more Tibetans, especially the young ones, like our our age group, I think they should take the initiative to, well, whether however small it may be, like I think every step counts to resolving the issue for our Tibetan cause. And to add to that, I think I feel like personally, education and academic excellence is very important in our society, because often I see people my age leaving their studies to go on and work and support their families, and which, in from one point of view, I can understand, because being a refugee, being someone with no country, with no identity, it must be difficult financially to be stable financially. But at the same time, I think we can take every little opportunity, um, whether it be sports, entertainment, or anything that we can do to spread awareness about our cause. Like even what I did, it's basically, it's literally a video game event, and we can use it to our advantage to bring our cause and our struggle to the international stage. So I think more Tibetan youngsters should take advantage of opportunities like this to spread awareness, especially among the international stage.
Definitely, Sangula. And like, this is a question which, if you want, you can answer. Like, it's just something out of the blue. Like, since Emmanuel Macron's visit to Beijing, like he, along with the European head Ursula, like there was a certain sort of optics displayed how France was cozying up to China, Xi Jinping. So, do you feel that right after his visit and his coming back, there was certain developments, or I don't know, like what did you? Was there any evident changes that you felt, or like it was like normal only, like with regard to the Chinese people that are living inside France?
Well, to be completely honest, I'm not very, I don't feel very qualified to speak upon what Macron does or does not do, because I'm sure he must have, they must have a lot of political and economic reasons behind, which I do not understand completely. But personally, I don't really see any difference. And yeah, to add to it, at the event, the group of Chinese that harassed me, they were, I'm pretty sure they were mostly comprised of mainlanders who flew from China just for this event, because I saw one of the WeChat group chat icons, which was basically literally a flag and a flag of France and emoji of an airplane. So yeah, and even on his post on Weibo, we can see that they talked about taking the flag and going back to the hotel and burning it in the night. Like if you read their posts on Weibo, so I think this proves that most of those guys were from the mainland and brainwashed by the CCP, because I I don't really think that Chinese people living in the Western world would think like that, because they would have more exposure and they would be able to think outside the box instead of the propaganda fed by the CCP.
Definitely, Sangula. And on that note, like the actions that you definitely portrayed during that very big live event showcases us Tibetan youngsters and also every Tibetan around the world that even a small action can make a big noise, can make big changes. So on that note, I thank you and thank you, Sangala, firstly for taking out time and coming out to our program and sharing your experience of what really happened there. Because I, as a Tibetan and as a human being, at the end of the day, believe that we must let the world know the truth about not only the things that have been happening to us, but what is happening to the Tibetans worldwide.
The pleasure is all mine. It's an honor to be on this podcast to speak with you guys. It's really an honor. Thank you.
For more updates and videos by affiliates, click on the link and please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.